Hi, Scrappy friends. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to do episode 8 of our photo organization. And if you've watched any of my other episodes in this series, you know that this is just my accountability for myself. And I'm hoping that by me having some kind of accountability for myself, that I am then inspiring others to do the same. And what's my accountability? Well, it's printing my photos. I admit that I do not enjoy the process of organizing or printing photos. I just wish that somebody would just, hand me the photos and I can just scrap them. But of course, part of this hobby is managing our photos and keeping them in some kind of order that we can easily get to when we're ready to scrap. So I've been moving along in this process all year, and I'm so excited that this is the 8th month. I'm doing really well with printing, and this month I printed a total of 117 photos, and here's a photo of them right there when I first got them and sorted them into their piles. So I'm very, very happy about the fact that I got that many printed. I really focused this month on keeping current, making sure I had everything printed. So at the time of this filming, I am completely up to date as of July. So August will now get printed with my September stack. So what I have on my desk then is once I got them sorted into their piles, I then put them into my envelope. So I'm just going to give a little recap if this is the first time you're watching. What I do is once I print them and I put them into piles or sections that I want to scrap, so maybe a 1-page layout or a 2-page, I use legal size envelopes. I put them in the envelopes and I write on the outside of the envelope what it is. I also write how many photos are in there, and then if they're horizontal or vertical, and I like to know the number. That's just what I like to use as a reference. I scrap a lot with sketches. And if I want to stay true to the sketch, I try and find pictures that I can accommodate the sketch. So I take the photos from their stacks and I put them into individual envelopes, and then I stick them in my box by year. Here's a photo of that. And so this is my current box that I'm working on. And so that's what I've done here so far. I have a few here that are not in an envelope because those are going to go right on into a project I'm working on. But other than that, everything is in their envelopes and ready to go into the box. And then before I put them into the box, I do log them in my handy dandy little binder here. Okay, so I use an old Happy Planner and I do it by year. And so all of these were for 2022. So I first make my list I use Pages because I have a Mac, but same as Excel. So I just make a running list. I like to know again how many photos I have. And then this column just tells me if it's been printed or not. So I put a little X if it's been printed. And then once I've scrapped it and it's in an album, I go back and I highlight it. I use this if I'm sitting down and I just want to plan pages that I want to work on. I might take a sketchbook and this binder and go through and find different themes or topics that I want to scrap. Okay, that's all there is to it. But getting to this point is my hardest problem because I just don't like that whole ordering, sorting the photos when they come. I'm not really sure why when you put them in your cart, why they come back and I think they purposely shuffle them for you so that you have to sit through and sort them all out. But that task is just something I kind of dread. So that's why I have this check-in each month so that I can kind of check in. But I would love to know, I know last month we had really good discussions on that video on how people print their photos. And I really like some of the ideas that came through because I'm already starting to think, well, I'm getting about 2 boxes full of photos now. So going into the new year, I probably won't need to continue doing this monthly. So I have to come up with another plan that keeps me on track just the same. So if you have any ideas, let me know how you print your photos. I know some people mentioned that they print a whole year at once and then they work on that album, or they print a whole event and then they work on that album. Other people print every couple months. They send some to the printer, and then a lot of people print at home. And that's just something I'm not really equipped to do right now. And I know for me, it slows me down in my scrapping process because I have tried that. I do print from home occasionally, but not something I want to do on a regular basis. So I like to get them printed and then cut them down if needed. Okay, so at the end of last month, let me put all this away. At the end of last month's video, we started talking about what do we do with duplicate photos. So I pulled this box out and I showed you, here's a picture of what it looked like last month. And I had all these photos in here from 1998 to 2000, and those albums were already complete and sitting on my shelf. So I didn't know why I was keeping this whole entire box of duplicate photos. So I decided to look into them and decide what to do. So let me show you the progress that I made. Ta-da! It's empty. Yep, I was able to get through this whole entire box, and I am just super thrilled about that. So I went through this entire box and I looked at each photo in here, and I decided whether or not it was going to go into the shred pile or take another look. So most of the photos in there, I was able to quickly go through and determine, yep, this memory was familiar. I knew I had that in an album, or maybe I didn't even like the photo because there were 2 copies in there, which means I didn't even use it the first time. So why am I holding on to it for 20 years? So there were a bunch that I quickly put into the shred pile. Okay, and then there was a handful of some other photos that I then needed to take another look at. So what does that mean? It means I have all these photos that I now had to look at them again, because as I'm going through the box, I either decided that they didn't look familiar, and so I had to actually pull out the album and match up the photos and see if maybe it was an extra photo, something I didn't use when I made the original layout. And then I had to decide, well, do I want to keep it if it's already in the album or add it to the shred pile? And we're going to talk more about that. So I had to kind of take some time with the smaller stack and go through and look at every album, look through the albums to make sure and then I had to look to say, what am I going to do with that now? Okay, so we're going to come back to this pile. The shred pile, this is not actually the shred pile. This is more photos I have to look through coming up this month. But my shred pile was huge. It was a whole entire box full because I had some other ones that I added to it. And I kept going with this process and took it a little bit further and found even more duplicates other than that box to add to it. So I took my shred pile and I did just that. I shredded it, and here's what it looked like when I was done shredding. It was a massive amount, and good thing it was just like going through them and shredding and shredding and shredding, and it was pretty fast process as I was going through. I only shredded ones with people in it. Anything that had just scenery or food, then I didn't bother shredding them. I didn't want to burn out my shredder. So as I was going through quickly shredding, I did pull a huge stack aside that I just was able to toss. So what did I do with the ones that I had to take another look at? Now this pile became the biggest challenge, because in this pile where, like I was saying, I went back to some photo albums, and then even from there I had to make the decision because something was holding me up from shredding them. I know some people commented on the last video, well, don't shred them. Maybe instead of shredding, scan them was another option, which was a very, very viable option. I didn't want to do that with these photos. I feel like I still have the negatives. So if I wanted to, I could, go back and go through those negatives. That's probably not going to happen. But, some people were like, oh no, I would never shred. I would take them offsite, store them offsite somewhere else, because what if a fire or a flood or something should happen? And if that's the case, then I'm gotta really make some tough decisions on what I would do if I was going to replace those albums. So for me, I just decided I didn't want to keep those. And when I was going through this pile, and if they were already in the book, then I kept adding to that shred pile. But then there's a whole handful that I just couldn't part with. And those were some, of course, that weren't scrapped. So now I added them to my box ready to scrap. But others were just so cute. They were just so cute photos of my children when they were little, and I just couldn't part with it. So let me show you what I did with those. So now these photos now turned into another category, which I called archive or keep. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that I don't want to part with them yet. I don't want to necessarily put them into an album, maybe not now or maybe not ever. So I just want to keep them and archive them somehow and some way. So I've been doing this system for a while, and any photo that I wasn't sure what to do with because I still liked it, but maybe I didn't necessarily want to scrap it, then I decided to keep it in this new area. And what this area is it's a box that I call by person. And so what I put in here is anytime I work on a layout and maybe I printed 12 photos but only used 10, and maybe there's 2 photos left of, let's say, my oldest daughter. There's 2 photos left and I felt like maybe she was already represented on that layout, but the photos were still cute and they were still something I might want to use later on, but not sure. Then I decided to put them in this by person box. And so what I have in here is just that. I went in and I made a file tab for each person, like here's me. And then behind there are some photos of maybe me that I don't necessarily want to get rid of. So like this is a good example. This was just a barbecue at my dad's house, and it looks like we were making s'mores, and this event was already scrapped. I didn't feel like I needed to add this photo, but I wanted to keep this photo because I'm pregnant here with my 3rd child. So I wanted to make sure that that's in here. So I've tried to keep this so organized so that someday somebody might want to go through this and see what other photos are available of themselves or of our dog. Yeah, they might just want to go through and see random photos, and or like a situation just came up where I needed to get some photos of my son for his fiance, and so I was able to come right in to his section and see if there's any photos I wanted to get out from here first before trying to get them off, print them from the computer or try and scan them from the photo album or whatever. So I looked here first because I knew that these were some miscellaneous cute photos that weren't used in any other photo album. Okay, so I took those photos that I wanted to keep or archive, and I wrote the year on the back of each one, and then I stuck it behind whoever was in that photo. I put it and I just dropped it in there. These are in no order, but then this way, if I ever wanted to do a collage page of just myself, then I could pull these out and do a scrapbook page of just myself if I really wanted to. And they should all be dated on the back. Okay, so that's what I did with those photos that I couldn't quite part with and I couldn't just shred. And even if we're in an album, some of them were, some of them weren't. This is where I put them if I wasn't sure what to do. And now this box is ever growing, and my intentions are by the, someday I might have to take, maybe, just maybe I'll have a whole section of just myself and it'll fill up one whole box. And then I would just get a box and I'll title that box Diane. And then maybe I'll end up someday with a box for everybody. But right now our entire family fits into one box. Okay, so I've started this process a couple years ago, and the box has been growing ever since. So for this month coming up, I have more boxes to sort through. I have probably another couple months of sorting through photos. It'll take me some time. The boxes are bigger than just a standard photo box, but my target for next month is to go through. I have another photo box that has some duplicate photos on it and some artwork from my kiddos. And so now I'm going to move into this box and work on getting all of these either shredded or archived. And then I have an old album that I'm going to disassemble and take apart. So I know I never would recommend doing that, but the reason I have this is because I had a family childcare several years ago, and this was more of an advertisement type of book. When I would interview families, they would come and I would show them the book so that they could kind of see activities that we do. So I really don't need this book anymore. I am going to repurpose this. So I'm going to take off the photos and probably any die cut and try to repurpose the pages. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And I really can't show any photos in here because there's a bunch of children that I do not have permission to show. So this will be my challenge for this month, is to get all the photos off. And then there are several photos of my children in here that I'm going to decide, again, do I want to shred them or archive them or even maybe make a page of that? Okay, so that's my challenge for this month. Let me know in the comments what your challenge is, or if photo printing is not even a challenge for you. Maybe I'm the oddball out and everybody loves to print their photos. But thank you for watching and keeping me accountable, because I am really making progress on my goal for the year. So I'm super excited about that. And until next time, just keep moving forward and getting those photos out of those boxes and into our albums, right? Okay, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.